We
Are we
are
live?
live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Podfeet. How are you
I'm looking a
doing?
lot better, aren't I? Tell 'em how
You,
much better I
you're
look.
doing quite a bit better, yes. It was not pretty the past few days, and it looked worse. I don't know. Do you think it looked worse than it was?
No, it was horrible. It was awful. So, yeah, I do look human. I have a lot of makeup on, a lot of makeup covering the yellow and the green and the blue, and trying to get this nonsense down here. I've got a little Fu Manchu thing going on either side. But why don't we just dig into the show and then I'll explain things.
Okay.
Sound good to you? Oh, roll call. We've got
Yes.
Seamus and Kevin and Bruce and Doc Tim and Frank and Jill and John and Sandy and Steve and Zoe.
What happened to Ron?
Yeah, you just finished recording. He was here. Ron Hebe was here. Maybe he heard we were going to show nasty pictures.
Yeah. Your video's not updating.
It isn't?
Oh, there it goes. It just got
That's weird.
delayed.
It's
Oh,
probably
there he
better
is.
that you don't see me.
So
Oh.
Ron is there, but
Ron
he's
is
just
there.
not
Hi,
showing
Ron.
up in the live show listen.
Yeah, you were in Live Show Listen originally, and now you've disappeared. All right. Oh, and listener Lynn. Poor Lynn. She has to tell me
Yes.
every time. Hi, Lynn. That's right. You posted that weird link you found.
I do see Ron in the sidebar, so
Okay.
he is. It's not just an image of him. He's really here.
Okay. All right. Look at Zoe's notes. She wrote some more stuff about how to hide
Okay,
it.
will do.
All right. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, the technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, June 22nd, 2025, and this is show number 1050. All right. I don't know if do I do a chapter mark for, yeah, I guess. Got to ride in an ambulance. I wasn't sure whether to make it a blog post, but I didn't want to make the regular show too long, so what are you going to do? Okay. Well, I have a little story to tell that's only got a little bit of a tech angle, but I think it's important to tell. On Tuesday, I was on my morning walk with our young dog Kepler, who is not very good at staying on his side. Usually trips me, 2 to 3 times on every walk. On this particular day, when he tripped me the first time, I was quite proud of myself for regaining my balance so quickly. I've been purposely taking Pilates classes on Apple Fitness Plus in order to retain my balance as I get older. After patting myself on the back for regaining my balance, we turned the corner and started walking again. And then he tripped me again. This time, I did not regain my balance. Instead, I landed flat on my face. By on my face, I mean on my nose. I got to tell you, the kindness of strangers was overwhelming. A lovely gentleman named Matt was walking his 2 dogs just up the street from me. He and I have exchanged pleasantries before, as dog people do, and he came to my rescue. He called Steve at the gym, and he walked Kepler home for me. While he was still there, a car pulled over to the side of the road, and a young middle school age girl jumped out of the car, and she ran up to me and she offered me this giant pile of napkins, which turns out really important when you've got a nose injury. I don't want to be too gruesome, but when you smash your nose, stumbling. Turns out really, while he was still there, a car pulled over on the side of the road, and a young middle school age girl jumped out of the car and ran up to me and offered me a giant pile of napkins. I don't want to be too gruesome, but when you smash your nose on concrete, it bleeds quite a bit. I thanked her for the napkins, and I asked her whether by any chance did she have any ice. She ran back to the car and came back with 3 tiny little ice cubes that she harvested from her water bottle. It was the sweetest thing, and I got to tell you, those ice cubes felt like heaven. Around this time, a city worker named Jose pulled over, talked to me for a quick minute, and then called emergency services. He stayed with me until the ambulance arrived. That's something I didn't know emergency services do. No, hear something. Here's something I didn't know emergency services people do. They cleaned up all of the blood on the sidewalk. I don't mean just like rinsed it down with a water bottle they happen to have with them. They use scrub brushes and everything. I suppose it's so people don't start reporting maybe a possible gunshot victim later in the day, but I was still surprised and happy no one had to see that. While these humans came to my rescue, my technology failed me. I've talked on the show about how we all need to tell ourselves when you're not in an emergency situation, make this commitment to yourself that if your Apple Watch ever says it detects a fall and you have fallen, do not immediately press I'm okay. I made that promise to myself. I've made a concerted thing to do that. So when I fell, my Apple Watch said, "It looks like you've taken a hard fall." I did not scroll down to tell it I was okay. I tapped immediately the emergency call SOS button. Nothing happened. I tapped it again and again and again, and it never called emergency services. Now, my understanding was that if you didn't respond, it would eventually call emergency services. But let's check the docs on exactly what it does. According to the Apple support article on this subject, it says, if your watch detects that you've been immobile for about a minute, it will make the call automatically. After the call ends, your watch sends a message to your emergency contacts with your location, letting them know that your watch detected a hard fall and dialed emergency services. Evidently, I must have moved around enough that it thought, oh, she's just fine. But I don't know why it didn't respond when I tapped the button to call emergency services. Now, a couple of people on Mastodon have responded that they thought that you had to swipe on emergency services call. Well, that's just stupid if that's what I was supposed to do, because it looks like a button to me, and I thought it would call, but it did not. Now, I want to rush to the end of this story so you don't worry too much about me. They did a CAT scan of my neck, shoulders, and head. They determined I didn't have a brain bleed, which I hadn't even thought to worry about, but they also checked that I didn't have any damage to my neck. But my nose is broken in more than one place. They can't do anything about that until the swelling goes down, but I've scheduled an appointment with an ear, nose, and throat specialist for what will be tomorrow now, on Monday, to see what is to be done. Now, if you've ever seen my profile, you'll know that I have a pronounced bump on my nose, which is from when I broke my nose running hurdles in high school. You have to picture what had to happen then. Anyway, Lindsay my daughter suggested perhaps this new break would just fix it. But I suspect it's more likely that I'm going to end up looking like Owen Wilson after this if I don't get it fixed. Now, I think the day after the accident was the worst day. My face was horribly swollen to the point that it was kind of partially shutting my eyes and everything in my face was turning purple. But by the following day, I felt 100% better, and I wasn't nearly as scary looking. The bruising was still cool, but I didn't get nearly as much sympathy. I know this wasn't a tech story, but the live shows had to look at my face during the recording, so I figured the rest of you would enjoy the story as well. I don't want to force anyone to look at how bad I looked after the accident. But some people, when they know the story turned out okay, they're curious enough to want to see. So there's links in the show notes in the blog post to a couple of images for those with that morbid curiosity. I'm pretty annoyed that the Apple Watch failed me, but I'm encouraged that so many strangers came to my rescue. On one more tech angle to this story, my face was so mangled that Face ID on the iPhone did not recognize me. I had to reset it from scratch, but the next day my face looked so much worse that, again, it didn't recognize me, and I had to reset it. But then my face got better again, and I had to reset Face ID on the iPhone a third time. Now, I'm not blaming the software. I barely recognize myself, so I think this was actually good. But here's the curious thing. The iPad's Face ID never forgot who I was. Seems it's maybe a bit more forgiving, which is kind of curious. And one final thought. I am not 100% certain that it was Kepler who tripped me. Steve and I and Kepler retraced my steps from that day, and Kepler pointed out that there was a concrete meter cover embedded in the sidewalk that was about 3/4 of an inch deeper than the rest of the sidewalk. He says that's what I tripped over. But he has a conflict of interest in the outcome of the story. Anyway, I'm healing quickly, so don't worry about me. The last photo in my blog post is a picture of me at Go-Kart World on Saturday, so I'm doing just fine. I'll be okay. Oh.
Okay, so I think the spoilers work. The trouble is there's a moment of time where I paste the image in, but I still have to get over to the spoiler thing. So they're
So you
showing.
have to post it before you can.
No, I don't have to post it, but we're showing the live feed, right? The Discord feed.
In the live feed, sure.
And it shows when you're about.
Oh,
it shows
that's a good point.
The photo you're about to post, so I couldn't avoid that. Sorry, guys. But
so Lindsay, you said it would just magically fix itself. Now you're saying it was the that you thought they would fix it for me.
Fix what?
She's saying, for the record, I suggested that with the second break, she could get it fixed for a la plastic surgery. I don't know.
Yeah, Zoe's got a good point. In Discord, it doesn't show, but it's only in the YouTube feed, the live feed, where it would show.
Actually, Zoe will appreciate this. I texted Tom Merritt and a picture of my face and me in the ambulance, and what happened. And his first thing he said was, "Is Kepler okay?"
Tom.
Thanks, Kevin.
There's the comment from Lindsay.
If your nose is broken, Mom, maybe you could get that nose job you've always alluded to. It was on the phone. That's it. It was on the phone when you said it. It's a funnier story anyway, right? All right. Happy upbeat music. Let's see. I am going to make a note of some for Red Nose Day. I just thought of something. Jill, is Jill here?
Yeah.
Where is she?
She just made a comment about.
Oh, there she is. Yeah. My stupid Hindenburg reset again.
Oh no.
I think I
see
gotta
it.
ask them.
Seems to be working.
Well, that's because I spent 10 minutes putting it
I
all
thought you meant
together.
again since at the beginning.
No. And I don't think I got a new version or anything. So, all right, let's do a little imaginable solutions. I'm doing just fine. I'll be okay. A little slow. So I'm doing just fine. I'll be okay. That's too late. I'm sitting down with Celeste Acosta of Imaginable Solutions, and she's got some crazy contraption on the table here that she's going to let me try out. But I'll let you explain what we're looking at first. This is audio only, but then there will also be a video podcast.
Okay. Hi, everyone. We are I
might cut out that handoff there. It was about that much of it. Video podcast.
Hi, everyone. We are Imaginable Solutions. We make guided hand.
Okay. I'm going to keep moving. Alrighty here. Yeah, Ron, that's horrible. I have my sympathy for her. I've been working on teaching Kepler that he is not allowed to go down the stairs until I get to the bottom, and he's doing really well at it. My previous dog, Tessa, I never thought, it didn't even occur to me that you could do that you could teach a dog not to do it. And so it never occurred to me to teach Tesla, like, no, you don't get to go till I go. And then I was watching my son Kyle's dog, who would never go down the stairs until they've gone down it. And it's like, oh, why didn't I teach her that? So I have taught him not to chase me down the stairs or run around me. The cats are another story. They'll probably be the death of me. All right. Next up. Okay, this is a fun one. More fun than that last one.
Community, too.
When last we left our heroes, Chris Cook and I were trying to figure out how I could record a video of her presentation to show at MacStock. She'll be talking about how she uses a tool from Numa Solutions called the Remote Incident Manager to connect to another person's computer to provide them technical support, all through the use of VoiceOver on the Mac. Now, our goal was to capture video of the target computer, my Mac, along with audio of her voice, my voice, and VoiceOver. The problem I described before that we ran into was that any attempt to record the audio on my Mac caused a feedback loop to Chris where she'd hear her own voice 3 to 5 seconds after she said something. It was impossible for her to perform the demo with this kind of feedback. In my previous post about our attempts to record, I explained the incredibly convoluted process we developed that required 3 Macs, 3 microphones, 3 headphones, and 1 iPhone to achieve our goal. I sent the article to Numa Solutions along with even more details about the problem we experienced. A gentleman named Jack from the support team wrote back with a good question. In my article, I explained that to record the audio from Remote Incident Manager, I was choosing to record In my article, I explained that to record the audio from Remote Incident Manager, I was choosing to capture system audio. Jack asked whether I could try capturing just Remote Incident Manager instead of all of system audio. I have the tools to do this, and after kicking myself for not thinking of it as a possible solution path, I set it up. My recording was being done with the screencasting software ScreenFlow from Telestream. It's designed to record the screen, and I can add as many audio input devices as I like. But applications like RIM are not audio input devices. But with the help of Loopback from Rogue Amoeba, you can create virtual audio devices out of applications. This means I can assign the audio output of Remote Incident Manager as an audio input to ScreenFlow. In Loopback, I added a new device and I named it RIM. I distracted myself changing the zoom accidentally when I scrolled on the wrong picture.
Also, I don't know if this is just extra line feeds or you're missing photos or diagrams, but there are some extra spacing here. We can take, if this is just spacing, we can handle it later.
Where I am right now in the reading?
In the next paragraph.
Oh, no.
After.
Where have the pictures gone? No. Those are supposed to be pictures. Oh, God. Why didn't somebody tell me this sooner? I saw that the other day. I'll have to fix it after. That's just all borked up.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can keep going with the podcast.
That makes me wonder whether there's changes I haven't fixed.
Changes to...
That I would have fixed. I would have seen these. Dang it.
Oh, like this may not be the most recent version?
That I pushed back up the wrong version.
Okay. Well, I'll kind of watch for typos or whatever.
Yeah, actually, I just realized Sandy told me something to fix like yesterday or the day before, and I never fixed it, so I need to find that right now. I was busy with my face. Somewhat instead of someone. Oh, the word misleading. It would also be somewhat. Yeah, so I'm going to send it to the blog just so you may want to refresh. All my images are gone.
Okay.
That's really odd. Okay, where were we? Here. Okay, called it RIM. Oh, we're talking right here. I used the plus button to add a new source, and from the Applications dropdown, I chose Remote Incident Manager. By default, when you add a new application, Loopback mutes it when capturing. This messes me up every time I do this, so I immediately flipped open the Options chevron and unchecked Mute when capturing. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be able to hear it. Now, once you create a virtual device, it now simply exists on your Mac like you've got something physical plugged in. You can and should close Loopback and start to use the new device. In order to capture VoiceOver, it also needs to be added as a virtual audio device. Now, once you create a virtual device, in order to capture VoiceOver, it also needs... I keep scrolling in the wrong app. In order to capture VoiceOver, it also needs to be added as a virtual audio device using Loopback. I did that so long ago that I entirely forgot that it wasn't normally exposed to applications for recording. When you create a new device and choose applications from the source list, there's a section entitled Special Sources. Okay, I'm not going to get... When you create a single sentence out at once without slurring my words. No, I'm not drinking. When you create a new device and choose applications from the source list, there's a section entitled Special Sources. From there, you can choose things like background sounds, Finder, Siri, sound effects, spoken content, System AirPlay Receiver, or VoiceOver. Now that I have my 2 virtual audio devices, I was ready to set up ScreenFlow to record. Under New Recording, I selected my built-in Retina display for the video, then the 3 audio devices, my Wave XLR mic interface, VoiceOver, and my RIM virtual device. Now all I needed was someone to test with. And it turned out Sean from Numa Solutions had just emailed me about the stuff we were talking about with the support staff, and I wondered if he was maybe online. I asked him for a play date, and he readily agreed. He launched Remote Incident Manager on his side, created a keyword. I entered that same keyword on my Mac in Remote Incident Manager, and instantly he was connected to my machine. He could navigate my Mac with VoiceOver, hear my voice, and I could hear his. Now, for the moment of truth, to try recording the session. I told ScreenFlow to record, and he did not get feedback on his Mac. We solved it! But are we sure that's what fixed it? If you're a good scientist, you know that a good experiment minimizes the number of things changed, hopefully one thing at a time. While we had changed just one thing on my end, we had no idea how his Mac might be configured compared to Chris's Mac, including what microphones and headphones and software she was using. But I could change this one thing back on my side, and we'd have a good experiment. I changed ScreenFlow from recording just Remote Incident Manager to recording system audio, and I asked Sean to talk. Within a couple of seconds, he said he heard his own voice reflected back to him with that terrible delay. I flipped back to recording Remote Incident Manager instead of system audio, and the echo to him disappeared. Now we have good experimental evidence of success. After we confirmed our success, I went into ScreenFlow, and I verified that I had 3 independent audio tracks and 1 video track. It's clear I'm going to need to do some work on the audio levels, but the experiment confirmed success. Now, a normal person would have just hung up on Sean at this point, but we got to be chatting about why Chris and I wanted to do this. He explained that he's tried to present Remote Incident Manager in a Zoom meeting before, and it's caused what he called a feedback tornado. I love that phrase. Now, he's been a Windows user for years, but since Numa Solutions started supporting Mac OS a couple of years ago, he's had to learn the Mac. He'd played around a little bit with demo copies of Audio Hijack and Loopback, but didn't really know how the tools worked. Well, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to teach a 4th blind person to use Rogue Amoeba software, could I? I started with Audio Hijack, and he very quickly caught on to the concept of the little blocks you drag into a grid and why you'd want some parallel and some in series. But to fix his feedback tornado in Zoom, I suggested a possible path to success using Loopback. Let's say his coworker Jack initiates a RIM session with Sean's Mac as the target. Sean then joins the Zoom call. My suggestion was to create a virtual audio device using Loopback that combines 3 sources, his microphone, VoiceOver, and Remote Incident Manager. Using VoiceOver keystrokes while he listened to me navigate through Remote Incident Manager, I created this virtual audio device for him using Loopback. I was kind of proud of myself for being able to do that using VoiceOver keystrokes. Once I had the new virtual audio device built, I opened Zoom, and without going into a meeting, I changed my audio input settings to this new virtual source that combined the 3 inputs. I spoke, and the little meter in Zoom moved. I had Sean speak, and again the meter moved. I had Sean move around on my Mac to trigger a VoiceOver to talk, and again the meter moved. Now, this isn't a thorough and complete full-circle experiment, since I didn't get on a real Zoom call, but I bet dollars to donuts this would work for him without any feedback tornadoes. I left Sean with the promise that if he ever wanted to play around with Rogue Amoeba tools again, I'd be glad to help him out. He was really quick to learn, interested in figuring things out, and he laughed at my jokes, so, it was all good. Now, a few days later, Chris and I sat down to record the demo with the new, simpler process. Now that I was recording just RIM and not the entire system audio, I was confident we could do the demo without the audio feedback to Chris. The good news is, Chris no longer experiences feedback of her own voice. The bad news is that we had a whole new problem. Instead of hearing VoiceOver from my machine in near real time, it was taking 5, 6, 7 seconds for VoiceOver to get to her. Imagine trying to do a demo where the video is 7 seconds behind. I mean, that's what it's like for her, right? That's like she's hearing it 7 seconds after she's issued a command. Well, we disconnected and reconnected several times, but there was still this terrible lag with VoiceOver. My first thought was that perhaps Remote Incident Manager was somehow struggling with the amount of video being presented, as I had my external 32-inch 6K display attached, and it's pretty obvious most people using this tool would not have a big display, if any, display attached. I disconnected it, which caused a whole lot of logistical problems because everything routes through it, and finally, I just attached a second microphone to my MacBook Pro. This did not fix the problem. We disconnected the call and gave up for the evening, but continued to swap ideas over the next few days while we did more experiments. Chris ran a network speed test of her Wi-Fi. We thought maybe that was something going on, and as expected, the speed was far less than if her computer had been hardwired. I suggested using Ethernet, but she hadn't ever connected that way on her home router, so she wasn't quite sure where to plug it in. She called me on FaceTime so she could show me her T-Mobile Wi-Fi router. On the back, there were 2 open Ethernet ports. I was confused because there was no network cable going into her router. There was only a power cable. She managed to focus her phone on the model number, which I'm telling you, 98% of sighted people can never do that kind of thing over a FaceTime call, but she did it perfectly, and I looked it up. It's a 5G router using cellular, which I should have realized from the name T-Mobile. It explains why there was no network cable going in. She went out and bought a USB-C to Ethernet adapter and an Ethernet cable and hardwired her Mac. We confirmed that the interface order in System Settings Network had Ethernet at the top. That gave her much faster speeds, but it didn't fix the lag in VoiceOver coming back to her when we were trying to record. I asked her to check her activity monitor just in case there was maybe something else aggressive running on her Mac, and we found that Carbonite was chewing up 17 gigabytes of RAM, but disabling that didn't affect the lag in VoiceOver. I also read online that a VPN could affect the Remote Incident Manager. I run Tailscale all the time, which is sort of a VPN, so I disabled it, but that did not fix the problem. How come nobody's talking? Literally, nobody said anything since I started recording. Did everybody fall asleep? But that did not fix the problem.
They're enthralled.
Yeah, surely. Yeah, you're going to try to tell me you're listening. Yeah, right. We all moved to a different room. That I believe. But that did not fix the problem. I finally came up with what we think was the root cause, but I hesitate to confirm since I've been wrong so many times before. Chris usually helps her blind students with their computers who are already running VoiceOver when she connects to using remote. Chris usually helps her blind students with their computers who are already running VoiceOver, and that's when she connects using Remote Incident Manager. Now, Remote Incident Manager is designed such that the target machine doesn't have to be running VoiceOver to function. Since I'm sighted, I don't have it running when Chris first connects to me using Remote Incident Manager. Without VoiceOver on my Mac, the RIM connection brings up a visual VoiceOver panel in the bottom left of my screen, but I can't hear VoiceOver. Now, if I can't hear it, that means I can't record it for the demo. What we've been doing all along, as soon as Chris connects to my Mac, is I toggle off VoiceOver, which kills that little panel graphic, and then I toggle it back on to enable full VoiceOver on my Mac. After eliminating all of those other potential causes of the delay, I wondered whether my toggling VoiceOver off and back on again had anything to do with the delay that she was hearing. We disconnected yet again, and for our final test, I enabled full VoiceOver before Chris connected. She poked around on my Mac a little bit, and she said the 5 to 7 second lag was down to maybe a second, which she said she could live with. I think we found the root cause, or at least the predominant cause, of the lag with VoiceOver. We were finally ready to record. Chris's demo was to show me how to open a website in Safari, copy the URL, open Notes, write a quick note, select some of the text, and then create a clickable link to the website on that text. So her steps were, first, navigate to my doc. First, when my nose itches, it hurts to rub it. First, navigate my dock to find Safari. Note that if you have VoiceOver enabled, you can type just a couple of characters to jump to an icon, which as Sightlinks, we cannot do. Next, you would open Safari, navigate to appleviz.com, which is a great website for learning how to do things on the Mac and iOS with low or no vision. She would bring up a panel that then shows her all of the available headings in the on the web page. Now, this is why headings are so important in long-form content on the web. You don't want to just make section titles bold and big. Make them true HTML headings so that the blind can navigate between them. So now she could navigate through the headings and select an interesting section on getting started on macOS and iOS. From this section, she would find a link that looks fun and copy it. Now she'd go back to the doc, type NO to get to notes and open it. Create a new note and write some text. Select the text and hit Command K to bring up the Add a Link menu. Paste the link and hit OK. Finally, I made her quit Safari so she's not cheating since the web page was still up. Then go back to Notes and hit the link to open it in Safari. The demo worked reasonably well for the most part, but there were some significant pauses where we had to wait for VoiceOver to tell Chris what was going on. In a few cases, she tried to go faster, and then kind of some unexpected results occurred. The full demo, as recorded, was just under 9 minutes long. Chris and I discussed editing options. On the one hand, it would be more transparent to show the demo exactly as it was recorded, but it would also be somewhat misleading since under normal circumstances, she wouldn't have this annoying VoiceOver lag of even a second. We agreed that it would be okay if I did some editing to crisp it up. As it turned out, editing out the pauses was not the hard part of editing. I can only assume that ScreenFlow caused this, but whenever VoiceOver was talking, if Chris also talked, Chris's voice level dropped by 90% in the recording. It was basically being ducked by the VoiceOver audio. This is not how it sounded on the call at all. So picture this. Chris is talking along and VoiceOver says something like, Safari, open Safari. Her continuous audio track suddenly ducks way down and then way back up again. Normally, Chris either waits for VoiceOver to stop talking or she hits the control key once to make it stop. But remember, she's not hearing VoiceOver start talking until about a second or so later. Obviously, what Chris has to say is more important than what VoiceOver is yammering about in the video. So I had to select Chris's audio track, put my cursor at the point where she suddenly jumps from loud down to soft, hit the T key to split the track, then go down until VoiceOver stops talking and split it again. Then select the section where Chris is too quiet, go up to the menus in the sidebar of ScreenFlow to change the audio level from 100% to 300%. There are no keystrokes to do what I just described. Now, back to VoiceOver, I have to then decide how to bring its levels down to, say, 30 to 40% of what they were, over and over and over again. I didn't count all of the cuts on all of the audio tracks, but on Chris's track alone, I made 54 cuts. When I was done, the audio tracks from me and Chris were not as loud as I would have liked. I decided to export just our audio and run it through Auphonic to not only level it, but bring it up to the loudness standards of -16 LUFS. Figuring out how to export just the audio of Chris and me without the audio from VoiceOver was a bit tricky. Turns out you simply mute the audio track you don't want to hear, choose export, and then instead of the default of a movie file, change the type tab from automatic to manual. In manual, one of the options is lossless audio only. I then took the exported AIF audio file of me and Chris, ran it through an Auphonic production with the adaptive leveler strength set to 100%, then compressor to audio left adaptive high-pass filtering on, and the loudness normalization set to a target of -16 LUFS, max peak level of audio, and a normalization method of program loudness. I don't know if you need to hear all of that, but there's people listening who do like that stuff. So I could have spent hours and hours tweaking those settings, but it did a pretty good job of accomplishing my goal of leveling mostly Chris's audio after all my weird little chopping and bringing both of our voices up to the loudness standard. As a final step, I took the audio file created by Auphonic and I dropped it into a new track in ScreenFlow, muted our two original tracks, and then exported the project as an MP4 for Chris to show at the conference. The file has gone from 9 minutes down to 6 minutes long. Now, it's also been interesting working with Numa Solutions. They've got an interesting product, not also. This is part of the ending. Oh, good. Glad you posted that. Thank you, Steve. It's also been interesting working with Numa Solutions. They've got an interesting product and some unique challenges, and they're conquering them. I've alerted them to one interesting problem that only a sighted person would notice. When I launch Remote Incident Manager, I get the weirdest thing in my menu bar. On my big display, there's what I have to call a menu bar icon, but it's 7¼ inches wide. I'm not exaggerating. I measured it with a ruler. It's a series of black, kind of blobby looking things. The first one has some curves, but the following 4 are just like squat black rectangles. It finally dawned on me what it is. It's a slice through the rim logo. So the blobs are the part where the R, or the blobs that are curvy are the part of the R, a slice through the I, and then slices through the 3 humps of the M that are just, that gives you your 4 rectangles. Anyway, when I was chatting with Sean, I brought this up, and we noodled on it, and he's pretty sure they just need to replace the asset for the icon. I suggested taking a peek at the API from Apple, which I can only assume exists somewhere. It's the kind of thing, though, that only a sighted person would notice. I needed it because it's the only way you can quit the app after a session, but Chris uses all keystrokes to access the menu bar options. This is definitely not the final version of this. Dagnabbit. Oh, no, there it is. Matt was on Chit Chat, should not be in there. I'm going to keep fixing this, Steve. Where there's a big, bold Matt was on Chit Chat. So
Matt wasn't on Chit Chat?
Yes, he was, but I do talk about it in just a second. This is not the final version. I somehow uploaded the wrong one. What else is wrong here? So yeah, and I'll fix the images too. It's not a smooth process yet to provide support to a sighted person, but my interactions with Sean Beaver in tech support, Matt Campbell, the CTO, and Mike Calvo, CEO, have all been positive. I believe they'll keep improving Remote Incident Manager so blind people can help provide tech support to us all. Now, here's a funny thing. I was searching podfeed.com for Numa solutions to check something from my original post about Remote Incident Manager a couple of weeks ago, and I found a second article on podfeed.com. Guess what? Matt Campbell, the CTO I just mentioned, he was on Chit Chat Across the Pond back in 2021. He came on and talked about accessible overlays that were becoming all the rage and how they were actually a terrible thing for accessibility. I remember when Leo Laporte was advertising for one of these companies that makes an accessible overlay, which promises to fix all of your accessibility problems with the push of a button. I wrote to Leo to let him know that they're actually terrible and they make things worse, quoting Matt and pointing him to the interview. I don't know if he listened to me, but he did stop advertising for them fairly soon after that, so I'm giving me and Matt credit for it. The bottom line is, I think that Chris and I achieved our goal in the end. I learned a lot, which is always a good thing, and I enjoyed using my skills to help Chris produce a product that will demonstrate to the audience what she does every day to help other people. Getting to know Chris even better through this experience was great. She was willing to try anything, do endless experiments, buy an Ethernet cable, and she also laughed at my jokes along the way. If you'd like to see our masterpiece video, it's embedded in the show notes for your enjoyment.
Sutter joined us.
Sutter? Oh, Sutter's going to want to hear that early story.
That's right.
Post the link to the article again.
Okay.
Sutter probably knows this guy, Matt. Sutter lives in our neighborhood. I had a wee event happen. All right, I've got to leave that open. All right. That's not...
Dave Ginsburg. Have you been here all along?
Dave. Hey, Dave.
Did you just show up, Dave? Welcome.
I don't know. He was giving me some nice sympathy this afternoon for the...
well, thanks for popping in.
Train wreck.
Gracie wants to speak with Kepler.
Well, look at the last image in the article. It may not be his fault.
Yeah. Listen from Europe. Whoa.
Oh, you're in Europe right now. Wow. All right, I'm going to keep going. Well, it's that time of the show when I normally panhandle for money to support the show. I'm not going to steer you away from such a noble gesture, but I'm going to ask you for something different. If you ever see someone fall down, stop and make sure they're okay, and don't take their initial word for it. Wait with them for a bit and see if there's maybe someone they'd like you to call. Maybe offer them some napkins and a few ice cubes from your water bottle. I'm sure you would anyway because you're a NosillaCast away and you're all wonderful people, but that's really all I want this week.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah. I still made it a link to Patreon, but...
more of a support your neighbor kind of message.
That's a good line, yeah. All right. And a chapter marks and a save.
So was this a long security bits?
No, it's only 38 minutes.
That's not too bad.
Too bad? You think it's bad when they're
Yeah, right.
long?
You don't want them that long.
I don't know. I think people like them. I've always said I'm worried that people would stop listening to the show altogether if I ever took Bart and made him a separate podcast. Oh shoot! So it's a good thing you told me to save
Had you just saved?
pretty recently.
Good. Thank you, Kevin.
Open recent. What the heck? That's not the right episode. That's not good. It's weird. It didn't consider it a recent episode. Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah. All I lost was my chapter mark.
Don't forget to reshare it.
Oh, yeah. I did forget. Present. Window. There you go. Okay. And then don't let me forget to go get the music. Copy link, paste. And then this is what I was doing. I was looking for security bits. Where's it? There it is. Started to drag that in. And then we need to go get some security bits episodes. Jill rocked it on your show. Good. Jill rocks just about everything. Jill's the best. Let's see. That looks pretty good. That also can't be true. Yeah, you're really kind of a hack. Not very pleasant. Nobody thinks you're funny or interesting. You're right.
Wait, you just going to cut that off?
Oh, sorry. Here you go. Blink.
There we go.
We didn't have much enthusiasm today. Neither one of us. A little bit early there. Which way do I want to go with that? Let's see how this sounds.
Target, let's face it. That's how these
Whoop. That's what I wanted to do. Oh, jeez. Guess I should take these two things and slide them over, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
A little bit. A little bit more. This week. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchatz. What do we got on deck today, Bart?
we have a smorgasbord of a few things, and that's kind of it, really. And
Just gonna jump around, listen to a few spots here.
Well, not today, but
I think
there's
sometimes
some stuff here.
that means nothing horrible happened that you have to. Still looks like there's. I think he's a little bit behind.
Here.
That means nothing horrible happened that you have to tell us about.
Depending on where you read these 0 days go.
It's getting harder and harder to call that stuff grayware.
I
Oh, big gap. On deck today, Bart.
we have a there's some stuff here.
That means nothing horrible happened that you have to tell us about. Or you a member of NMUG? I was all excited telling him about the Naples user group, and he said, yeah, I've been on them a bunch of times. You never told me about them.
So that's
What is
how
in
these
it?
0 days go.
Naples.
Oh, Naples, Florida.
That's the one I was on with Sheeta. That's the one I told you was like the best run user group I've literally ever seen. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how these 0 days go.
It's getting harder and harder to call that stuff grayware.
Data.
So
Seems accurate.
the company.
That is the latest.
Doesn't all this sound really quiet? I know Aphonic's got to fix everything. But
Twist. Yeah.
yeah.
iPhone 26. Oh, 16e.
I was just there for iPhone 26e. What are you talking about?
16e.
Oh, 16. Did I miss a memo?
Little typo.
I hit my head. I was like, I
Just,
missed 10 generations.
10 years worth.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, she's the best. Ooh, your beta devices are working. Cool. All right. Well, that is going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeed.com anytime you like? If you have a question or a suggestion, maybe on how not to fall down, just send it on over. I've actually got a lot of stuff coming up, and if you have any recordings you can do for the show, I would really, really appreciate it. I need some help. I need some content. So send some stuff over to allison@podfeed.com. If you have any questions on how to do it, just shoot me an email. We can talk about it. It's going to be awesome. Whatever you do would be great. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed.com/Mastodon. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, where do you go? Podfeed.com/YouTube. Want to join the conversation? You can join our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack. There you can talk to me and all the other lovely NosillaCast castaways. Joe from the North Woods, Alistair Jenks, Bart, everybody in there is fantastic. You can support the show at podfeed.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation at podfeed.com/donate. You can use Apple Pay or any credit card there. Or you can use PayPal at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCast castaways. You could have even seen my new nose. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
Your new nose. Hopefully it's just a temporary one.
Yeah, I don't know. That makes
It's
me
healing.
queasy to think about them breaking my nose to fix it. Start over on all the healing.
Ooh, what is that?
What is that?
That was weird. A little Cylon.
What is any of that?
So you stay secure.
Where did that
That
even
was your
come
recording.
from?
That was your recording. Your outro.
It is.
It just got borked. Well, it's good you listened to it.
What the?
Just do a little test to see if it's still doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it is. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeed.com. Yeah,
you
Sandy, what did
honking?
you do?
You honking, Ellison?
Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast.
Okay, that's weird.
Okay.
Can you restart your audio? No,
Yeah,
that's
you
not.
gotta redo.
You got to
the-
restart
It's
Hindenburg.
like
to
audio
do that.
MIDI something probably.
How about something simple? Do something easy like just restarting Sound Source.
It wouldn't be sound source. It'd be audio hijack, or it would be loopback, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but you're not hearing anything wrong with me talking to you right now, right?
No, it's just the recording.
Okay. How about what if it's a 16-bit 44.1 auto?
How would that have changed? Because did you check
Yeah,
some of the
let's see.
prior recordings? Because you might want to check what you recorded earlier in the
my God.
podcast.
Oh, please don't tell me. Well, I have a little story to tell that's only got a. When last we left our heroes, Chris Cook and I were trying to figure out how. Well, it's that time of the show. I think it's after the crash. And I didn't talk after the crash except that ending.
Okay, that's good.
Thanks. Doc Tim says, usually a broken nose is fixed only if you have trouble breathing through either nostril or you don't like the look of your nose. Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Can I get a free Medicare paid for nose job?
Well, you said you're having a stuffed up nose. Could that be related?
Nah, I don't know.
You don't think so? Is it just
I
a
don't know.
cold?
I don't know. Just coming and going. Okay, so what am I going to do about this? I turned off audio hijack and turned it back on, but that can't be it. How about
Well, why don't
audio
you do
MIDI
another
settings?
quick test?
But that's the fact that you're hearing me just fine says it can't be that. Okay. This says
What if you quit
40.
Hindenburg again and restart it?
Okay, hang on.
Do a save and quit. And...
Yeah. Might have a reboot. No, I don't want to reboot. I'm in the middle of doing a recording for Screencast Online on the other account. Actually, let's
Restarting
try this.
Hindenburg isn't hard.
No, that's easy, but actually, hang on. Save. What if I change my microphone input to like my MacBook Pro microphone? Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan. That sounds okay.
Now try yours again.
So
Maybe
that's
just switching
my
mics.
loop. Yeah. So, hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
Hi, this is Allison Sheridan.
So that's a loopback virtual audio device. Let me try just my XLR microphone directly. Okay, we'll try that. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan. Yep, it's loopback.
Loopback. And it's hard to
let's
quit
see.
loopback and restart?
It's really hard to quit loopback.
Okay.
Just because it always, like you hit quit, the virtual audio device is still running. What do I want? Activity monitor, maybe. And see if I can quit the loopback process.
Why, it's one of those funny apps that runs in the background?
That's neat. No, there's nothing called loopback running. Come on. Well,
What? So you just did a clean recording of your voice going directly to the mic. Why don't you just do that for this one time?
yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. It doesn't sound that much different, I don't think. Plus my voice is all gravelly anyway. All right. Let's put this over here. I got to be funny and clever. Get to loopback from terminal. Yeah, well, it's not showing as a process, Kevin. As a running process. Oh no, I'm out of water. All right, here we go. Let's just do it straight up. Wait. Let's put it back to, Wave XLR. There we go. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeet.com anytime you like? Tell you what, remember I mentioned last time I need some recordings because I've got a bunch of stuff coming up and I've got a vacation and I don't want to make anybody do the show for me. So anything you got that you might want to review, you can send it to allison@podfeet.com. The review, not the thing. Anyway, if you have any questions about how to do it, just go ahead and shoot me an email and we'll talk about it. It'll be awesome. If you have a question or suggestion, you can also send that on over. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeet.com/Mastodon. If you want to join, listen to the podcast on YouTube, go to podfeet.com/YouTube. If you want to join in the conversation, you can join our terrific Slack community at podfeet.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and Joe from the North Woods and Alistair Jenks and Barb Bouchatz and everybody over there. They're all awesome. It's super fun. You can also support the show by going to podfeet.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation at podfeet.com/donate. There you can use Apple Pay or any credit card, or you can use PayPal by going to podfeet.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. If you'd been here this week, you could have gotten to see my mangled nose. Anyway, thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
Oh, that's much better. That'll really
Mangled-
draw them in.
Enthusiastic. There you go. It sounds like it worked too.
Oh, you're saying when you do it this way, direct, you're not getting all the sweetening and filtering of your voice. Is that the difference?
Yeah. It doesn't sound that good anyway. Let's hear the ending. Listening and stay subscribed. Subscribe.
There you go.
All right. How many chapters you got, dear?
Well, for you, 5.
Who else would it be for? 5?
How many do you have?
5?
Okay, we're good.
That means it's a wrap. Reminder to unmute. Yes, that's a good question because I was considering muting a minute ago. Let me check one thing here. Oh, you know what I forgot?
What?
Bart's audio icon.
Oh, good call.
Probably wreck everything.
So you stay secure.
Well, that's going to wind us.
Ah, perfect.
I bet he listens for it every week. All right. 5:56. I made
Yes.
it in spite of a crash and a silent voice.
And a broken nose.
I wonder if it's wrecked over in the other account too, where I'm recording for Screencast Online. That'd be
God.
awesome.
Oh, no. Don't even say that.
Probably is. Maybe it's because I'm running 2 copies of Audio Hijack. Who knows?
Could be.
I don't know. But I think I should go out, stay upright. That should be our final thing here. Thank you, Lynn. All right.
And
Getting ready for my
stay
shot. Go,
upright.
John. All right. Let's call it. Goodbye,
Let's call
everybody.
Bye, folks.